What is trust really? Like tangibly, how do you define it? How do you define it for yourself? And is it different for everyone? Can you make people trust you? Can you make yourself trust somebody else? In the world of AI, misinformation, and a whole lot of suspicious and shisty stuff out there in the ether, trust matters more than ever as small business owners and creators. In this episode, I'm going to break down what you can do to build trust apart from simply telling people, trust me. Welcome to Small Business Casual, where we take the dream we're building seriously with a hefty dose of laughing at ourselves along the way. I'm your host, small business copywriter Emily Aborn, and I'm here to help you answer questions like, does my business need a lead magnet? And how the heck do I talk to people at a networking event? All while making it fun and, you guessed it, keeping it casual. A client recently asked me when we were kicking off our copywriting project together, they asked me how we show people that they can trust us without overtly saying, you can trust us all over our website. Now, my answer for them was that we show it in a variety of different ways, but ultimately we can't make people trust us, right? We can't convince them why they should trust us. We can only give them our very best reflection of who we are, why we're great at what we do, and show them that we care. We care about them and we care about their goals. Now, there are a variety of ways I do this as a website copywriter. I weave trust through various parts of their site with grace and with flow and with strategy and with science, and I build trust for various brain types in various ways. But let me ask you this question for yourself, or actually, I have quite a lot of questions. No surprise there. How do you know whether or not somebody is trustworthy? What is the first thing that pops into your head when I ask you that question? Is it something about maybe the duration or the quality of your relationship? Is it about what other people tell you to believe about somebody or to think about somebody? You know, they're good people, or no, I don't trust that one. Or is it maybe a felt sense that you can't quite put your finger on? Is it small promises that they've delivered on reliably over time? Is it consistency? Maybe over the amount of time? Is it transparency, honesty, competence? Maybe it's a mix of all of these, and maybe you can't even really define it. We all kind of have our own little secret sauce and specific formula of what makes us trust somebody, which is why, as you might guess, that is why our job of actually gaining trust, it can be a little bit extra complex. So I love looking up the meaning and definition of words, and the word trust actually defined, because I was like, what even is it? It is a firm belief in the reliability, in the truth, in the ability, or the strength of someone or something. And I think for most of our relationships, we can agree that it is an incredibly important foundation. It really, for me, it is like hugely, hugely impactful. It sets the stage for safety, predictability, knowing that that person has my best interests in mind. So let's think about how that applies to our businesses for a moment. And oh boy, does it ever. Trust is so vital between our clients so that they know what we're going to do, they know we're going to do what we say we're going to do, that we have a process that really serves their goals and their needs. They want to be able to trust that we're competent and we're capable and we know our stuff. And they can also rely on us when problems arise. They can rely that we are going to collaborate and navigate them together. And not for nothing, it is not just the present that informs who and what we trust. It's also the past. It's also their fears and their fears of the future. It is any number of things happening behind the scenes for them in their present. So I say that to say that that's not to discourage you. That is to say, it's not all on you when people don't trust you right away. But there is a lot that you can actually do and to help build trust through your words and through your actions. So today we're going to explore how. In this episode, I really want to make trust like this foundation, and then we're going to add 5 pillars to it as we build. Now, I am no architecture. I write for a lot of architects and home designers, but fair warning, I am no architecture, but I do kind of picture these 5 pillars. They're like very solid, okay? And they're all equally important in supporting this structure, okay? They all work together as a cohesive whole to keep this trust structure alive and well. So that's kind of the mental image I have in my mind. And again, trust varies slightly for everybody, but for today, I'm going to focus on the 5 pillars that I've kind of put together for business specifically. But the first one is consistency. And I know that is not a very sexy or alluring term, but believe me, it is very important. Competence, transparency and honesty, care, and integrity. And then I'm going to also add a bonus one. And I have something I'm going to share on that too, on someone else's work. And that'll be at the end of the end of the episode, but it's going to be really about like some of the outside trust builders. So like maybe endorsements or other people's referrals and word, right? So let's put that aside for now and we'll come back to it. We'll start with the first pillar. First pillar, consistency. So for the past 8 years now, this has been like a little bit of a soapbox for me. I've been kind of trying to unravel this negative connotation that a lot of people have around the word consistency. So often what I hear is that people, when they hear the word consistent, they think it means, oh, I have to do something day in, day out, or X number of times a week, or always be something, always be on, always be this, always be what people expect. But really, consistency is a lot less rigid than that, and it has a lot more possibility. I think often when people are talking about you have to do something day in and day out or X number of times a week, they're talking about frequency, the frequency at which you do something. Consistency is not that. Consistency is about doing what you say you're going to do when you say you're going to do it over and over and over again. Now, that's not just for other people, but it's also to yourself. So if not, you're not making promises that you can't keep to yourself or to other people. We spoke about that last month with being impeccable with your word. And over time, consistency really builds a sense of safety because when somebody is predictable and reciprocal, or they show up when they say they will, time and time again, you suddenly stop wondering if they're going to show up. You don't wonder if they're going to deliver on that draft or that post or that social media ever again or host the next event. It is a slow, constant, long-term putting in the work, very, very long-term plan. It's not one big moment, but instead it's like 100 small, boring, tediously consistent moments. So where it impacts your words, like where we can actually build consistency into the words that we use in our businesses and in our lives, is what we choose to say about ourselves, about our businesses, about our podcasts, about our brands, or about our work. So let me give you an example. If I were to tell you, for example, one week I'm like sitting here and I'm like, I'm a small business copywriter. But then the next week I refer to myself as a marketing strategy. The next week I refer to myself as a content queen. And then I'm talking about being a visibility goddess. And maybe I even throw in like I'm a podcast specialist. I don't know. You might start to get very confused. And maybe I do some little piece of all of those things in the work I do. Maybe, but doesn't matter. You're going to get a little bit confused. And you might even see me over here as like, is she a little bit wishy-washy? Like, wait, what is she? If she can't even decide what to call herself, should I even trust her with my message? Now, I'm not saying that you cannot pivot. I am not saying you cannot introduce yourself creatively, and especially in different contexts and different ways. But let me just say, there is a lot of value in consistency in the foundation, right? In like the base of what you say. There is also consistency in how you say things. So we want to ensure, and I say this a lot, but we really want to ensure that our voice online, anything we're kind of creating or sharing that is like outside of us, right? It should really match who we are. It should really match how we're going to be showing up in person with our clients. We want to be consistent across platforms and in our overall messaging and in our branding. These are like major trust builders. And it really goes to show with how you can use your words on a regular basis. You do that over and over and over again, and you really start to build that nice, firm foundation of trust. That's like pillar number 1. So some specific trust builders with your words for that pillar of consistency are consistent messaging. Websites, social media, emails, they all sound like you. They all sound like the same person did the thing. Consistency in your promises. So if you say, I will have this to you by Friday, you get it to them by Friday. Consistency in your introducing yourself. Now, again, you don't have to stick to some script, but you don't want to be describing yourself differently depending on who is asking or depending on the day of the week. And then consistency with who you are online versus who you are offline. What you say publicly, really, it doesn't need to like be your most intimate conversations, but it should match who you are as a person. It should match who you are in private. So the language of inconsistency, when we are just constantly kind of like eroding those things, we're not doing ourselves any favors in the trust department. It really can destroy trust. So some tangible examples are if you, for example, use corporate speak all over your website. Like your website is just so buttoned up and like super corporate-y and right? And then you're so casual or social in person. Like there would be a big mismatch if I showed up extremely corporate sounding on my website and then in person I'm like, hey, we're BFFs, right? The other one, I think, when we say, I will try to do that, instead of just saying like, I'm going to do that, that is like this little tiny one that can be a little bit vague, a little bit non-committal, and it can destroy trust. If you need more time on something, just say, let me think about it and I will get back to you by X, Y, Z. You know, you don't have to say, I will try to do that, right? Or say, I'll try my darndest, right? Come hell or high water, like those kind of things. But it just shows that you are really putting in the effort to be consistent and follow through on your promises. And then the other one that can destroy trust is saying one thing in your marketing, but then you say another thing, like when you get on a discovery call or in private conversations with people. You do not want to be that two-faced business owner or creator. That is not good. Trust, again, is not built in this one big moment. It's built in these 100,000 million small, boring, consistent moments. And every little piece of our messaging builds on that, right? So, okay, let's jump to that second pillar. Let's put up that second pillar. This one is competence. This is really about helping people to believe and trust that you can actually do the thing. Now, as business owners, we've all kind of been in it for a very different amount of time, right? And we have to demonstrate that no matter where we are, we can do what they are asking us to do. Now, people have a way harder time parting with their hard-earned money and putting their faith in you if they don't think you can do what you can do. Trust me. You can't, again, control their past experiences with competence. You can't control their own need for control, but you can help to show them how capable you are and display competence in a few ways. It's actually one of the reasons I ask my clients if they've ever worked with a copywriter before, and if they've ever had a negative experience, I want to right away address like how that is not going to happen to them. I want them to know I am competent, I am capable, I'm not going to let that happen to you. So a couple ways we can build competence, and one of them is we're going to talk about again at the end, but the obvious is kind of like case studies, testimonials, portfolio pages, showing your results or sharing other people's words. So that's like a really great way to build competence. The other is when somebody asks you a question, you offer clear explanations. You show that you understand the problem deeply, and you also are an expert in this area. And this one, it might come as a surprise, but actually asking really smart and strategic questions that also shows that you know what matters, you listen, you adapt, and you really want to execute on this well, expertly for them. And then I also think that admitting what you don't know, that really can also show trust in your expertise, because it shows self-awareness of what you know and what you don't know. And if you don't know something, showing that you're going to go the extra mile and getting that answer for them, that is such a great way to show that you are competent. So the specific words I love weaving in that really build trust here are not using like vague language. So we want to be more specific in what we're saying to people. Instead of saying like, I provide X website solutions or I provide website solutions, we would say, no, I design homepages, about pages, services pages. I design websites. I write websites. I don't provide copywriting solutions. Okay. So I want to use specific language. It's a big trust builder. And it also shows that I'm competent. I'm not trying to like talk over them to like hide whatever I might not know. I'm speaking specifically. The other one is clear explanations. Like, here's exactly how this works. And again, eliminating the jargon. I like to keep things very plain English whenever possible. If I don't know, I'm going to find out. So if you say to somebody, I don't know, but I'll find you an answer, just shows them like, I'm not here to BS you. I'm savvy enough to do the research to get you that answer. I also think asking clarifying questions like, let me make sure that I understand what you're looking for, or let me reiterate this for you and see if I'm understanding correctly. I love doing that. It shows that like, I'm not just going to fly without making sure that we're on the same page here. And then really showing results whenever possible. So, a lot of my clients typically see X result within Y time frame. Not like, yes, it's going to be so transformative and it's going to be such a great solution, like being really, really specific in the results when you have them, of course, not making these up. When we use vague buzzwords like, we're leveraging synergies to optimize somebody's workflow, when we pretend to know things that we don't know, when we overcomplicate things to sound smart, and when we use a bunch of jargon that just is super confusing instead of clarifying, that can be all language of actually incompetence, and it can destroy trust. And remember, another thing, don't fall into this trap of thinking like you have to sacrifice warmth for competence. I think that when people show up that way, they so often it's like maybe they gain respect and people think they're so smart and intelligent, yay them, but it's not really the key to earning trust. You need both. You need warmth, competence. You basically need to be a human. Okay. Okay. Pillar number 3, drum roll, please. This one is my favorite. Transparency and honesty. These things make my heart sing. Even when it's uncomfortable, I always want to know the truth. And in a nutshell, transparency is all about being honest about what's happening. It's about being transparent with what you can and can't do. And when things go wrong, you own it. You let people know that you're not hiding anything from them. And with you, they do not have to guess and they do not have to worry. So I recently had a situation with a client. They went down a Google and I also think some AI rabbit hole spiral. They sent me 3 emails in a row, like rapid fire, all with this classic, I am freaking out over here, masked in long emails with, here are more ideas I had. Here are a bunch of frameworks I Googled. Here are 3 courses I'm going to be taking. Blah, blah, blah. You should take them too, right? I read it all and I was like, oh my gosh, this is very overwhelming, first of all. But then I kind of parsed out what was happening. I think they were a little excited. They were, first of all, very excited, right? They're working on their business. They're working on their brand. It's very exciting. And your curiosity is at an all-time high. But I also think they were nervous. I think that they were nervous that I was not going to be delivering on what I promised. I didn't know if they trusted my competence. So after I kind of figured out everything that was going on, I replied with a lot of transparency and honesty. Here's what I think. Here's why that is not as easy as what you're Googling right now. Here's why I don't actually follow frameworks. That is me being completely 100% honest with you. I'm going to tell you what I actually really think about the choices that you're making. So there are of course plenty of other instances. I just really truly think that honesty is the very best business policy. Always answer people's questions openly and honestly. When you hide or fail to confide, it only creates trouble down the road. So some really nice words and phrases that I think can bolster transparency and build trust is like, if you are, let's say, running behind, I'm running behind on this. Can I get it to you Thursday instead of on Tuesday? is, you're also getting a little buy-in from them about the, like, is this okay with you? I am very upfront with people if I don't think that we're a good fit for the project. I will say, you know what? I don't think I'm the best fit for this project. Or I don't work in that way. I don't work on like small kind of like piecemealing things. I wouldn't say piecemeal, obviously, but here's who I would recommend instead. So I also will tell people, because a lot of people come to me and they think we're having like a copywriting emergency and they need this tomorrow. I don't want them to waste time on our discovery call or connect call only to find out that they needed it yesterday, but I'm booked like 2 months from now, right? That's not how I operate unless you book a VIP day. But I've had to let people know those limitations a couple of times. And when you make a mistake, when I make a mistake, it's really also important to be honest and transparent and say, you know what, I'm sorry. I messed up or I misunderstood, and here's what I'm doing to fix it. Here's what I'm doing to remedy it. I also think that sharing your process, i.e. not gatekeeping your information, is extremely important. That is a way of showing transparency and honesty. I have often said you can spoon feed people every single piece of information you have collected over the years. They're still going to hire you to do it for them. They're still going to hire you as a guide. You can be very generous in the information and the knowledge you share. Recently, I heard someone speak and I could tell that they were hoarding a lot of their knowledge and information. And for me, it was like, that felt really pointless. Honestly, it was very less than satisfying. It was not helpful. It left me not trusting that person to be able to do whatever they were offering. And I actually wasn't even really sure what they did after the speech. So just keep that in mind. Like, the more information and transparency you can actually give, it builds trust. It doesn't detract from what you do at all. People are still going to find you and work with you, and they'll trust you more the more you give. And I'm not talking about giving all of your stuff away for free, but there are instances when they are expecting it, right? Like on a podcast or in a workshop or something like that. And then I'm going to be very generous in what I share. And I know that still leads people to working with me, because frankly, most people don't have the time to implement a whole bunch of stuff on their own. Of course, another way to be transparent and honest is with pricing and timelines, what exactly is included, which promises you can keep and which you can't. I cannot, no copywriter can promise you to be number one on Google. I can do my very best, and I will employ all best practices to help you rank. That is not a promise anyone, including myself, can make. So I'm very upfront with people about that. Like, here's kind of the limitations with SEO. Here's the limitations with this. And then we make choices based on that. But I'm very upfront about pricing, timelines, what exactly is included, which promises I can keep, and which ones are really not up to me. Transparency, again, it is not oversharing. It's simply really disclosing and not hiding the things that matter most. And when asked, it is being honest with what you share. Trust pillar number 4. Are you ready? This is like another one of my favorites. Care. I bet you saw that one coming because you listened to the beginning. People have to know and believe that you actually give two hoots about them, okay? They have to know that you care. Care demonstrates that you have a stake in their outcome and their success, not just your agenda, not just your paycheck. People need to know that you're on their side, you are here for them, you're not just sucking them dry for every penny that they're worth, right? So tangible ways to show that you care with your words and actions. Listen more than you talk. Remember details about people and their business. Offer help even if there is no immediate benefit to you. Celebrate their wins. I love doing this. This is such a nice way to show people you care. Check in, not just when you want something from them, but check in just to see how they're doing. And put their needs above your convenience. Also, don't hesitate to recommend a different solution if it is better for them. Remember, we talked about that. Trust isn't just about getting them to buy from you. It's about getting them to know that no matter what you have, you've got their best interest in mind. Letting them know if it's really not the right time to invest in this thing from what you see. Or if you see something else that is broken and you're not really the first stop, you don't want them just paying you to fix something that isn't broken, right? Just because they're ready to pay money for it. Showing them that you care is about directing them to the right solution for them. And it's not always us. And then I love also following up after a project, asking how it's going, like if there's any way we can kind of shout each other out or collaborate with them, I want to do that too. People can really feel when you care, and they also can feel when you don't. So show that you care. It stands out a lot, and it is a huge trust builder. Okay, last trust pillar, then the bonus. Pillar number 5, integrity. This is doing the right thing, even when it costs you. Integrity is about doing your best, being impeccable with your word, acting in accordance with your values, even when it is hard. A level of integrity to yourself and to other people shows that you can be trusted to do the right thing, even when nobody is watching. It's the difference between what I think is like a transactional relationship and a relational relationship. And some of the ways to do it are, if I am holding confidentiality for a client, it is keeping that confidentiality. It is giving examples, but not breaking confidentiality. It is also not gossiping or talking about other clients behind their backs. It is honoring my word, even when it is a little bit inconvenient. It is not bad-mouthing competitors. It is doing the right thing, admitting when you're wrong, refunding somebody if, that needs to be what the outcome is, turning down work that's not aligned, even if you need the money. If it doesn't align with your values, there is often an opportunity for you to be like, you know what? I could not write that. I can't write copy that persuades people to do that, and I will turn somebody down. That is integrity, and it is tested when nobody else is looking. It's really that kind of like it's like one you kind of have to do for yourself. But when you start integrating all of these pillars, that is when you start to earn trust. That is when you kind of check those boxes for them, and they may not even be able to put their finger on why. And then lastly, we talked about this a little bit. We talked about around it, but I think other people are really the missing pillar. Other people, and I'm going to share in the show notes a link to a reel by Tad Hargrove. He runs an account on Instagram called Marketing for Hippies, and he talks about how much easier it is to build trust when you get somebody else's word, when you get somebody resharing your work or endorsing you or referring you or sharing their experiences with your ideal clients. That is the result of collaborations that are tried and true. That's why I'm very selective about web designers I collaborate with. And because I know they're all going to deliver referable, high quality work to my clients, and they know vice versa. So other people really can help to bolster trust. The other way other people can help do this is through Google reviews, LinkedIn recommendations, video endorsements, podcast reviews. That's why I'm always like, can you please write me a review? Client testimonials, case studies, that kind of thing. Another person who your ideal client or listener trusts, when they say, oh, you should trust this person, it helps to increase that trust exponentially. You can build it in so many different ways, in your social, in your website, on your podcast, but you adding these pieces from other people into those pieces of content as well, it is a huge piece of building trust. Trust is not built on posting every single day and labeling that as consistency. It's not about being perfect. It's not being more robotic and less human. In fact, I would venture to say we trust humans far more than the robots these days. Okay, looking at you, AI generated content. It is not built on never making a mistake, but instead it's built when you experience a mistake or something goes wrong, and you handle it with grace and ease and competence. It's built on providing solid value, letting your actions speak louder than your words. I can tell somebody to trust me all day long, but my actions, my consistency, those are going to speak much louder than my words. So if nothing else from this episode, remember these three key trust points. 1, admitting you don't know. It is more trustworthy than pretending that you do. That's a big one. 2, saying no can actually be a really big trust builder. When you're not a good fit, your yes is more trustworthy. Every time you stick to your communicated boundaries, you're communicating consistency, reliability, somebody that they can trust. So saying no can actually build trust. And number 3, trust is slow to build, but fast to break, unfortunately. And again, I say this not to discourage you, but to remind you the importance of these pillars, to remind you of the importance of consistency. Now, when trust is broken, it can be rebuilt. It just really depends on how that situation is handled. And that can actually increase trust even more, depending on how it happens. But remember, trust shows up everywhere in our businesses, our marketing, our content, our client relationships, in the sales process, in the day-to-day. It's a little bit of a different formula for everybody. And you can't control their unique formula, but you can help people to feel safe, that you won't hurt them. You can help them to feel seen, that you care about them specifically, and you can help them to feel respected. You value their time, their needs, their uniqueness. That all goes a long, long way in building a reputation of trustworthiness. All right, and on that note, we will be back next week to do some more word nerdery fun and get into the meaning behind our words. Thanks for joining me on this week's episode of Small Business Casual. If you're considering a rebrand, starting something new, or ready to upgrade your website copy to reflect the brand you've already built, I'd be delighted to help you find just the right words for your business. Reach out to me at emilyaborn.com, and I would love to hear from you.